Hello guys, Travis here, and welcome to my top 5 worst games of 2022. I usually do a top 10 list, but there were just a lot of games in 2022 that were kind of middling. They weren't really good enough to go on a best games list, but they also just weren't bad enough to go on a worst games list. And I didn't want to force games onto a list that I didn't feel like they deserved to be on. So I figured this year I would just do a top 5 list. I'm sure there are worse games that came out in 2022 that belong on this list that I just wasn't able to play, but this is my own personal list of games that I've played. So with all that being said, these are my top 5 worst games of 2022.
Oh my god, he's doing it on my screen too.
Kevin!
Kevin? Are you...
Kill
Kevin?
it! Kill it! At number 5, I have Dying Light 2. A game that I was really super excited for because I did really enjoy the first game and the DLC. But Dying Light 2 just didn't do it for me. Right off the bat, I didn't like that the main character of this game, Aiden, was pretty much the same as Kyle, the main character from the first game. And that kind of set the tone of really not much originality that Dying Light 2 was bringing to the table. The same side missions over and over again, which would be fine if the game was fun, but I really got bored playing this game really fast, and I was playing a 3-player co-op, and that usually doesn't happen for me in co-op games, but it happened to me every time I booted up Dying Light 2. I'm sure by now some of these issues have been fixed, but when I played the game, it was marred with frame rate issues, glitches, like missions breaking, and crashes, especially in co-op play, that killed some of our fun. It quickly turned this into a game that by the end I just did not like and was waiting for the game to end. I hope if Dying Light 3 is made, they actually take what was great about Dying Light 1 and build off that instead of doing whatever they did here in this game. At number 4, I have Saints Row. A game that I found way more boring than Dying Light 2 even. Co-op was extremely broken, especially at launch. There were just missions that just straight up wouldn't work, or glitches that straight up broke the game for one person or the other. Everybody's floating like...
There you are. Took you long enough.
And if you think Dying Light 2's side missions were repetitive, this game had the same 3 or 4 side missions you did over and over again, and none of them were remotely fun. And to be honest, they were a chore to complete, and not because they were hard, but because they were mind-numbingly boring and stupid and just no originality. The story was no better, as it just seemed to be going through the motions with every single story beat. The characters had very minimal personality, the gameplay was super basic, and the graphics really just left more to be desired. Overall, in my opinion, I think Saints Row was a total disappointment, especially stacked up against its previous counterparts, and a game that I think a lot of fans of the Saints Row franchise will not look back on fondly. My number 3 is Rainbow Six Extraction. Really, this and the next 2 games were really interchangeable for me because they were all terrible. This game just really has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Just the same levels over and over again with hordes and hordes of the same enemy types, level after level after level, until you just want to rip your hair out. At no point in this game did I have fun. The only part about the game that was fun was playing it with a friend, but even that brought little enjoyment as the game was so bad that it just didn't make up for it. My advice to Ubisoft, who probably won't take it because they're tanking as a company, and maybe games like this is why, but my advice anyway, is if you're going to make a zombie horde game, you can't do the same shit over and over again every level and hope that the game is good. Actually put some fucking time and effort into your game, or Ubisoft will be the next company that has to sell their license to someone else, which at this point, the way their business practices are and the way they treat their developers may not be the worst thing in the world. Also smear marks in the background. Is that?
I have no idea. Yeah, I see those too.
I thought it was my monitor.
I thought so too. I was wiping on my monitor. Oh shit.
It looks like I took like some. It looks like I took some food and just chucked it at my monitor and cleaned it off terribly. My number 2 is Babylon's Fall. A game that I really don't have to convince you too much is bad because the game hasn't even been out a year and they're already shutting the game servers down. A game that I was streaming on the first week of launch, and me and the person I was playing with was the only people streaming the game on Twitch. It was a dead game from day one, and the reason is the game just isn't good. It's actually brutally terrible. After 1 or 2 missions, that's about as much as you need to see from this game to know that it is a bad game and one of the worst games of the year. The combat is okay at best. It is a graphical disgrace for a game that came out in 2022. The character models are straight out of 2004, if not earlier. The character customization is awful, and the story is a complete drag. Every year, Square Enix finds a way to get on my worst games list, and it's because there's always a game that comes out published by Square that is just low-effort garbage. Like they just made the developers push it out to meet a quota. This is a game that should have never seen the light of day, and it was dead on arrival, and that's what this game deserved. I didn't see her eyes. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the game. I've been talking to chat. My number 1 worst game of 2022 is Vampire: The Masquerade Swan Song. A game where someone decided to take a beloved license and cash grab the shit out of it. This game was brutal. Terrible voice acting. To be honest, it didn't even sound like the voice actors even cared. Terrible mission designs. Boring story. A few hours in, I just wanted this game to fucking end. But instead, I played this game for 15 fucking hours, hoping that it would get better, but it doesn't. It gets worse and worse as the game goes on. The mechanics of this game are some of the worst I have played in a video game. There were some cool ideas in theory in the game if they actually tried, but they decided instead to do the bare minimum. This game, like Babylon's Fall, should have never seen the light of day. The developers should be ashamed of themselves, the publishers should be ashamed of themselves, and these companies need to stop with these cash grabs of beloved licenses that prey on the fans of said licenses. It never works, you just end up wasting everyone's time, which is exactly what this game did. And that is it for my worst games of 2022. Like I said, I prefer doing a top 10, but it just wasn't in the cards this time around with, a lot of things going on with my life and a lot, like I said, a lot of games kind of in that middling range, not really deserving to be on either list. And I know there's probably way worse games than some of these. I almost guarantee there are, but these were the games I played personally. If there are any games that you played that you think belongs on the list, let me know. Give me your top 5, top 10 games for 2022 in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. But until then, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, guys.